Okay, close your eyes and bring your awareness all the way down into your pelvis. And imagine your pelvis as a bowl. And just notice if you filled that bowl with water right now, would it be level? Would it be tipped one side or the other, forwards or backwards? So see if you can kind of make some adjustments to get that bowl of water to be level. And notice how that feels in your body. Like, how does that affect your legs? How does that affect your spine? What's going on in your rib cage? What's going on in your shoulders? And then try to stay where you are with that level pelvis and those sensations in the body, but open your eyes and take a look at yourself. Because oftentimes when we bring ourselves into alignment, it feels really weird because we're not normally there. So we feel like, we're all the way sitting funny. And it takes actually visually looking at it and going, oh, no, this is what normal looks like. This is what aligned looks like. It just feels funny because I'm not normally here. So getting that visual cue and then closing the eyes again. I feel like I have all of Manhattan in my sinuses right now. It's just dusty in my head. Taking a couple deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. And as you inhale, really expand the rib cage. Let your shoulders float up on that inhale. And then exhale, the shoulders float back down. Feel the rib cage even softening more and more, like lengthening out the rib cage. With each breath, we expand and then we contract. We expand and we soften and surrender. And then I want you to come around onto all fours. And I'm going to stay up here because I know you can see me here. So if you've got any wrist issues, I would suggest just making fists and doing this on your fists. Otherwise, spread the fingers nice and wide. I want you to keep your shoulders and your pelvis stable, but take one hand up, and I just want you to feel around onto your pelvis and into your low back. And just notice if one hip is kind of tipped or if you're arching into your low back. I really want you to find that neutral spine and be able to feel like, okay, if I go from essentially my butt crack up towards my rib cage, I'm flat. Okay, so there's no arch in there, there's no rounding in there, I'm flat. I could put a little plate of cookies on it. And then you can replace the hand, and I just want you to, without moving your spine in any way, shape, or form, I want you just to draw your belly up towards your back. So we're just imagining that you're kneeling in water right now and it's cold and you're trying to keep your belly out of it. So it's that same sensation of like, oh, that's cold. I don't want to touch that. Again, none of the spine or pelvis, none of the skeletal system moves. It's just a lift in the belly. And now widen across your collarbones. And feel as if you're engaging your whole rib cage in your breath. Now I want you to start at your butt and tuck your tail. And we're just going to articulate one vertebrae at a time. So I start really small at the pelvis and I tuck, 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 tuck as much as I can. And that's going to slowly flow up through the low back. And then when I'm tucked as much as I can't round anymore through the low back, I'm going to push into my hands and start to carve my heart up into my upper back. And that's going to round through the upper back. When I can't round through the upper back anymore, I tuck the chin and round through my cervical spine. And then as I go back the other way, I start at my head and I start to lengthen out. And you'll start to feel that through the whole back. And as soon as I've lengthened, I'm looking straight down at the ground again, then I can start to move through the upper back, but I'm still tucking my tail real strong. And then as soon as I kind of flatten out and widen my collarbones, then I can start to send that wave down into the pelvis until I find that flat back space again. And then I continue taking my head up, then my chest up, then my rib cage forward, and then my tail up. Okay? So starting looking forward, chest forward, rib cage down and forward, booty up. I'm going to tuck my tail. It's going to come through the low back. Keep your chest forward as much as you can. Tuck as much as you can. And when you can't tuck anymore, start to allow it to come up into the mid back, the upper back. Everything rounds. Last thing to move is going to be that head. Good. Keep the tail tucked, and now we start at the head, moving back towards that arch, one little vertebrae at a time. So just keep going for about a minute here at your own pace. So as we round, it comes from the butt. As we arch, it comes from the head. And I want you to notice any areas that feel like a blind spot where you're like, I can't feel that. It doesn't feel like it's articulating. I can't connect into that musculature. And you'll stop there and just do tiny little movements to try to bring awareness into that aspect of your spine. And for most of us, it is going to be between the mid-back and the shoulders. And it's going to probably be mainly in the arching position because we're real good at rounding. The society and the way we live is turning us into little gumdrops. And next time you make your way through that neutral spine, through that center place, whether you're coming from or going to an arch or rounding, you're going to stop. You're going to keep your hips right where they are on top of your knees. Walk your hands forward. Drop your chest down. So your butt's way up in the air and you're trying to move your chest towards the floor. It may or may not come to the floor. And you're really focusing your breath through your armpits. So essentially from like mid-rib cage to your elbow is where you want to be identifying this stretch. And then bringing the chest up, round from your tail to assist you in walking your hands backwards. And we're going to take thread the needle, but it's actually going to be a side stretch. So I'll do this all on the same side. I want you to thread your left arm behind your right and bring your left shoulder and left ear to the floor. Now your butt stays up in the air. This right hand that's free is going to walk out straight past your head towards the top of your mat. You're walking as far as you can, spread your fingers, plant your palm down. And then think about lengthening your hips back. So you're going to sit your hips back a little bit. Now, if you want to go deeper here, you're just going to take that right hand, which is essentially in the upper right corner of your mat. You're just going to walk it across the top of your mat towards the upper left corner. So we're taking ourselves into a side bend, and then you're going to pull your right hip backwards. And you should feel a stretch that moves under the shoulder blade, through the side body, and up the arm. And walk the hand back, and then all the way back in front of your face. You're going to unwind. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So right arm behind the left, right shoulder down. Left arm walks out in front of you. Reach through the hand, plant the palm, pull the hips back. If you want to go deeper, walking across the top of your mat, and then same thing, hips back. Walking the hand back across and back down in front of the face. Unwinding. And let's come down into our bellies, or Anya's favorite pose. So right arm is going to come straight out at shoulder height, like you're going to point someone down the street. Palm flat down on the floor. Right ear is going to come onto the floor. And you're going to use your left hand to roll yourself over onto your right side. So I'm folding into my arm. My head relaxes. And then this top left leg can either just hang out, or you can bend and make a little kickstand behind you and allow yourself to fold a little deeper. Slowly roll yourself back onto your belly. Switch sides, left arm comes out. Left ear to the floor. Right arm rolls you over onto your left side. Right leg can hang out or come back behind you for a little kickstand action. Head is relaxed down on the floor. You probably notice that one side is a little more uncomfortable than the other. rolling back center. Bring your left hand under your forehead. Rest your forehead on your hand. You're going to bend that right leg and then reach back for the foot. So if you can't quite grab hold of the foot, grab a towel or a scarf or a yoga strap. You wrap it around the foot. So the reason why I'm having you do it in this position as opposed to this one, where we might be able to get a little bit deeper or easier access to this foot, is because we take all of this in the low back. So I'm actually not feeling anything in my quad right now because it's all in my low back. But if I come down and I take my pelvis out of it, then I have to get into the quad. Then you're going to kind of stay in this position, but let that foot go. Externally rotate so your knee starts to point out to the right and your foot drops over towards your left knee, and then pull the knee up. So we're in like a sleeping baby pose. It's a really gentle way to open up that inner right thigh. This is also an amazing pose for calming your central nervous system. If you're feeling stressed or if you're in bed at night and you're having a hard time falling asleep, this is a great position to come into and it will immediately calm your nervous system. And then we'll take this into a twist. So you're just going to take your left arm, slide it in under your body. Okay, so thread the needle just like we did in the beginning. Now you're going to take your right arm up towards the sky and roll yourself over, boom, into a twist. Real deep belly and low back breaths here. I'm going to use this opportunity to massage out all those internal digestive organs and all the musculature in the low back and belly. And if you look towards your left arm, you'll get an opening through that right chest and shoulder. The right arm is going to come back up and over. Left arm unthreads. Right leg lengthens back and down. Right hand on the floor, forehead on the right hand. Left hand reaches back for the left foot. Pulling into the quad stretch. And just notice here if you have a desire to lift your butt up and take that in the low back as opposed to in the quad. So even as you're resting on the floor, think about gently drawing your pubic bone up towards your belly button and sending your tail towards your heel. And that's going to deepen the stretch into the thigh as opposed to doing it in the pelvis. And then releasing. externally rotating so the knee goes out to the side, the foot crosses over towards the knee, and then we pull the knee out to the side in that sleeping baby pose. And then you'll pick your chest up, slide your right arm under your left, bring the right shoulder to the floor, rolling towards your back, left arm up and over into your twist. Moving your breath into your belly and low back. So giving ourselves a nice little internal massage with the breath once again. And then if you look to your right, you'll get an opening through the left shoulder, chest. And then use the left arm to pull you back around. Sending the left leg down. And then just take a second, one hand on top of the other, forehead on the hands. Give your hips a little wiggle. And then bring your hands under your shoulders, but slightly wider than your shoulders. Hug your elbows in towards your rib cage. So think of your elbows as kind of pointing straight back towards your heels. Tuck your toes. Draw your belly up and away from the floor. So it feels as if you're trying to lift your whole, the skin of your belly away from the floor. And then you can either pick the knees up for this or you can leave the knees down. But from whatever point is touching the floor, you want a nice straight line. Take a deep breath in, and then as you exhale, push away. So you come up to either a plank or a modified plank. And then roll through your spine up and back, downward facing dog. And take it for a little walk, bending one knee and then the other. Walking your hands back to your feet into a forward fold. Bend your knees nice and deep, and then roll up from your pelvis, one vertebrae at a time, until you're standing. And just take a couple deep breaths here. Then as you inhale, you expand. As you exhale, you soften. So think about the inhale as really breathing into your musculature. And as you exhale, you are softening into your skeleton system. And we're going to go all the way forward, top of the mat. We're going to do a couple of rounds of sun salutation modified. Again, we're going to be focusing on the pelvis to shoulder region, keeping that nice and long, so engaging the core. Kind of opened everything up to get started, so should be a little bit more awareness in that area. So I like to keep my feet hip width apart. It's easier on our pelvis, especially for women. But if you feel the need to bring the feet together, go for it. You do you. So I'm going to keep my tail rooting down, my pubic bone lifting up, my belly gently drawing back towards the spine. And then inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, hinge from the hips. So think about sending the crease of the quads back and reaching up and over your pelvis. So stop at 90 degrees, okay? If you're finding that you have to round in order to be at 90 degrees, then I want you to lengthen the spine, but bring a bend in the knees, okay? So don't give up on that nice length just so you can keep your legs straight. Bring that softness into the knees, and that's going to slowly start to open up the hamstrings so that you will eventually be able to be in this 90-degree position. Also, if the arms over the head is too much, take the hands to the hips or any place that feels appropriate. This is going to be more challenging than this, okay? Take another deep breath in here, and then exhale, roll all the way down. Let the back round, let the head completely hang. Now, if the hands don't come to the floor, bring something under the hands to bring the torso up, or bend your knees. Two options. From here, we're going to inhale and try to lengthen the spine as much as you can. Again, you might need to bring a bend into the knees. And then as you exhale, I want you to step your left leg to the back of your mat. So we end up in a lunge. And I want you to think of one long line from your heel all the way up to the crown of your head. Push your left heel back and send your right knee forward so you get longer. Now tuck the tail and draw the pubic bone in towards your belly. And think about scissoring your right hip back and your left hip forwards. So right knee forwards, right hip back, left heel back, left hip forwards. Draw your belly into your low back. Think about shrinking your waist and then play with the idea of taking the hands up off the ground, maybe the hands to the hips, maybe the arms straight out in front of you, without your shoulders, hips, or heels shifting, okay? So if that means you only take the hands slightly above the ground, then that's where you're going to be at. I don't want to see any of this. Move it all over the place. So just take it to where you can successfully maintain everything the exact same except the arms up off the ground. Good. Bring the hands back down to the floor. Step the right foot back. Start at your head, rounding. Roll yourself up and back. And then drop into your heels for downward facing dog. Move around in your down dog however feels good in your body. Use your down dog time as an exploratory time. What feels good? Where do I need to stretch? I'm about to either pop a rib in place or out of place. I don't know which one it is yet. Oh, that looks like hell. Roll yourself. Well, no, wait. Let's do it this way. Walk yourself backwards, rounding into a forward fold. Bend your knees, roll up, one vertebrae at a time. And then take a couple of deep breaths, stacked. And then step to the top of your mat. Same thing, other side. Inhale, we reach up, nice long body. Exhale, up and over. Like there's a bar in front of you and you have to get up and over it. All the way down, bend the knees if you need to, let the head go. We inhale, lengthen the spine. As we exhale, the right foot steps way back. You find that length through the low back, through the spine, and a long line from the crown of the head to the heel. So, left knee forward, right heel back, belly in, left hip back, right hip forward. So left knee forward, left hip back, right heel reaches back, right hip reaches forward. So there's this expansion on the outer edge of the body and a contraction on the innermost edge of the body. Belly draws into the low back, and then we play with the idea of lifting the hands. Either they just come up off the ground, maybe they come to the hips, maybe they come out in front of you, but you want to make sure that you can keep the pelvis exactly how it is, keep that expansion and that contraction. And one side is always more challenging than the other. Hands come back onto the floor. We step the left foot back, round the head, roll through your whole spine, up and back, downward facing dog. Again, move, play, explore. Walk your hands back to your feet. Hang like a rag doll. Then bend the knees, roll up one vertebrae at a time. Stacking your bones. The inhale expands through the musculature. The exhale grounds through your skeletal system. All right, step to the top of the mat. Nice and strong through the torso. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, forward fold up and over. All the way down. Bend the knees or bring the hands up onto something. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, left foot's going to step way back. And we're going to ground the knee and release the top of the foot. And I want you to think that you have a lion's tail coming out behind you, big and fluffy ball at the end, okay? Now tuck it through the legs and feel that movement come into the pelvis. So there's a tuck in the tailbone, and it's as if someone's got a hold of your tail and they're pulling your tailbone through the legs and forward. And that's how you are moving forwards into this lunge. So there's a really strong tuck of the tail. pubic bone towards the belly button. And it's almost like somebody is stepping on your back toes, on those left toes, and you're trying to pull your leg out, like, get off my foot, pulling that leg forward. So use that right knee and pelvis to pull forwards and keep your left hip coming forwards with you. Don't leave it back there. So we're trying to just pull our toes out from and under someone who's standing on it while someone's pulling our tail. It's a very rude zookeeper. And just notice how that feels through the groin, probably both hips. But the thing is that you're engaging all the musculature of the pelvis. So keep dragging that left hip forward with you as that left foot and knee are dead weight. Hands under the floor, tuck the toes, step back into plank, roll through, downward facing dog, explore. Walk the hands back to the feet, round over, bend the knees, ragdoll up. Take a couple breaths here, inhaling, expanding in the musculature. Exhale, rooting into your bones. And just feeling the difference of sensing the muscles of the body versus the bones of the body. And step forward. Strong torso. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, up and over. All the way down. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, right foot steps all the way back. Drop the knee down, release the foot. Get your lion's tail out behind you and then tuck it through the legs and have somebody pull on it. And then someone else steps on those right toes and you are pulling the pelvis forward, rounding the back, tucking the tail, pubic bone draws towards your belly, and then bring your right hip with you. So if you disengage the musculature of the pelvis, it'll feel like you could actually pull your left hip away from your right hip. So when I say bring your right hip forward, I want you to think about sucking that right hip bone up towards your rib cage and taking the whole pelvis, belly, rib cage forwards with you while you leave your femur, your knee, and your shin, foot behind. And that is going to provide strengthening through the core, through the low back, and a stretch through the front of the right hip. Maybe even down into the quad, maybe even in the left hip. And then tuck the toes, lift the knee, step the left foot back, planks pose, roll through the spine, up and back, downward facing dog, taking a moment to move around here, play a little bit. Walk the hands back to the feet. Hang in a forward fold. Bend the knees, roll up. Take a couple breaths here. Inhaling musculature, exhaling bones. So you should be able to find a really soft and relaxed place when you're standing, because if we stack our bones, we will stand with absolutely no muscle needed. So if you've ever done a cadaver course, you can actually stand up a cadaver that has all loosey-goosey muscles. The muscles are not working anymore, they're dead. And you can bone stack them and they will stand. So try to find that most relaxed place possible just from aligning your bones. So it's another great way to calm your central nervous system, because to be out of alignment, to be in this anterior pelvic tilt, have our heads forward, be rounding here, like so many of us are walking through life, it takes you using all of your muscles to do that, and it freaks out your system. So if you can find that really soft spot where all the bones are aligned, this is one of the best relaxation techniques that you can have. And once it clicks, it is just like, it's like your body takes a breath. It's a great trick when standing in customs lions. All right, moving forward. Back at the top of the mat. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, up and over, nice and long, all the way through to the ragdoll position. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, left foot steps back. Keep the knee up, but I want you to bend the knee. Okay, so we're in this kind of like little squat in the back leg. And then tuck your tail and round yourself up. Okay, so I have a knee bend in that left leg. Now, why do I have a knee bend? Because if I were to straighten my leg out, my pelvis would tip forward. Okay, so see how I'm not actually stretching my quad, I'm all in my low back. So bending the knee allows me to get my butt under me. So I need to push with my right foot, send my whole pelvis backwards so I can really tuck my tail. And right here, I'm already getting a super stretch through my left hip, down through the IT band a little bit into the quad, just from this tucking under. So again, someone's got your lion tail, it's being pulled out in front of you, and they're pulling the pelvis forwards. Pubic bone's lifting up. And then from here, I can play with the idea of bending that right knee and coming down only as far as I can before I need to start tipping. So that might not be much at all. And then I start playing with the left leg of straightening it only as far as I can without tipping. So it might not look like this beautiful, yoga pose that we have this idea of what a yoga pose is supposed to look like, but instead we've got the pose that our body needs. Arms can be up, arms can be down, arms can be at your hips, out to the side, whatever you want to do with your arms. We're working on the pelvis. And then take the hands down, right foot back, roll through, downward facing dog. Notice how your down dog is shifted from the first one you came into. Find those areas of tightness, move into them. And walk your hands back to your feet. Drape over the legs, bend the knees, roll up. Inhale, expanding through the muscles, exhaling, bone stacking. Try to find that sweet spot where your whole body just kind of like aligns and takes a breath. And then step forward. Strong torso. Inhale up. Exhale up and over. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, right foot steps back. Right knee bends. And then tuck the tail, roll up. Okay? Use that left leg to push your hips backwards so you can tuck your tail under. So it's got your tail. Okay? It's a strong lift through the lower abdomen to really get the hips in under you. And then we start to play. What happens if I bend this left knee and bring my knee over my toes more? Can I maintain that upright bowl? Is my water in my pelvis going to tip forwards? Keep it level. Playing with the right leg. How much can I straighten that leg while still maintaining an upright pelvis? And then what do I want to do with my hands? Chances are your body is going to shake a little bit here. It's learning new neural pathways. So again, we're looking for the yoga pose that our body needs, not the one that Yoga Journal wants. And then taking the hands down, left leg steps back. We roll through plank to down dog. Taking a nice stretch, finding the places that still need some love. Trying to get into them. Walking the hands back. Let's take a second. We've done a lot of down dog to open up those shoulders again. So interlace the hands behind your back. Reach your knuckles up towards the sky. Drop your head. And then think about pressing the shoulder blades towards each other and the pinkies towards the top of your mat. Breathe into your upper back. So it's like your breath, your in-breath is trying to undo the muscle work that you're doing. Relax the arms down, bend the knees, roll on up. Take a couple breaths here. Try to find that sweet spot. All right, back to the top of the mat. We're gonna do one more round. This time we're gonna take the right foot back first, just so you know, mostly because that way you can actually see what I'm doing instead of staring at my butt for the first round. We're gonna do a little bit of hip opening here. So same thing, we inhale up, exhale up and over, all the way down. Inhale, lengthen. This time we step the right leg back, right heel down. Think about sinking the left hip towards the left heel. So this might be as far as you go. If you want to try to go a little deeper here, you walk the left hand in front of the left foot. And then you start to round the low back to sink the hips down and pop the right foot up. So you walk yourself so you're square to the side of your mat. Maybe you sit here. Maybe you sink the hips down a little bit. If it feels like you're going to break your whole body, you always have the option of taking a passive version of the pose, dropping your butt down, and either keeping that knee up or coming into Janu and coming forward. So that is a passive version. It feels like you're about to snap your body into a million pieces. Don't do that. Take the passive version. We'll walk ourselves back around to that left foot. Left foot back. Roll up and back, down dog. Walk the hands back. Forward fold. And the knees, roll up. Try to bone stack. And then step it forwards. Inhale, sweep up. Exhale, up and over. All the way down. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, left foot steps back. Drop the heel down. And start to take that right sitting bone towards the right heel. Maybe this is as far as you go. Maybe you take your right hand on the inside of the right foot. Maybe you walk torso over center, dropping the hips down, popping that left hip up. Maybe it feels like your whole body's going to explode. So you drop the hips down, either keeping the knee up or bringing the foot in, and then forward fold. That is the passive version once again. The non-passive version is here. Lift the hips up, rotate through. Back to the lunge, step back. Bring the knees down to the mat. Walk the hands out back into that Hatha pose that we started in. Just noticing if there's a difference here. Relaxing under the taps of the feet, walk the hands back to take the hips back into child's pose. Keep tucking the tail, roll yourself up to seated in hero's pose. And then come up on top of your knees. And we're going to move towards a back bend without back bending. Sounds simple enough. So it's, a lot of times people come into their back bends and they take it all in their low back. And okay, I got my hips, and I'm in this back bend. But I'm really, really deep in my low back here. So we're not actually going to come into back bends today. We're going to prep for back bends so that we can start to engage our knees a little bit more. Thinking I'm going to be slidey, so make sure you're on something sticky, because otherwise you like me sliding all over the place. So bring your hands on your butt, the top of your butt, okay? And I have your fingers point down, and I want you to think about pushing that tissue down. Same thing, lion's tail, through the legs, you're being pulled that way. So I want you to think of keeping your low back long. Okay, so my pubic bone is lifted, my belly is nice and strong, and my low back is long. My tail is tucked because someone's pulling my tail between my legs forwards in front of me. And your hands are on your hips. You just put the backs of your hands if that's more comfortable on your shoulders. But you're pushing that down. And you're trying to keep the low back long. And instead move your chest up. Okay? So I'm not here with my heart going up. And here, long low back, reaching my heart towards the sky. It's going to feel very different. You're elongating through the front of the body. So push the hips forwards. Use your hands. Push down and forwards. Lengthen out of your low back and reach your heart up to the sky. Pull your shoulder blades back. So see if you can get your elbows to point backwards. Squeezing the shoulder blades together, so strengthening the muscles between the shoulders. We're strengthening the glutes, strengthening the lower abdominals. We're staying the hell out of our low back. Good. Come on up. Whew. Take the toes together, let the knees go wide. Sit the hips back, take a wide knee, child's pose. Coming up, do a lot of work on the glutes today, strengthening them. So I want to stretch them, come into pigeon, so you can come onto all fours, slide the right knee forward, and then externally rotate. So bring the left foot up towards, bring the right foot up towards the left hand, and then slide your hips back. And you can stay upright, which I highly suggest, and continue to work on drawing your tail down and your pubic bone up. Or you can come down onto your forearms. They're going to be different stretches, so maybe try a little of both. Think about your hips moving down and back. That's going to take you out of your knee. Roll onto your right hip, swing your left leg around, cross it past the right knee, and then try to re-engage your left butt cheek with the floor. So this in and of itself might be quite the stretch through the left hip. And then we are going to use that right hand on the left shin to rotate us around. So you can take the left hand at your sacrum and assist around. Or you can take it behind you. We're trying to get that left butt cheek on the ground and then twist to the left. Release. Unwind. Step that left leg up for pigeon. Relinquish the right leg's imprisonment below you and take it back behind you. Crawl yourself up and then sink the hips down and back. So again, you can keep yourself upright, working on tucking your tail, lifting your pubic bone, or you can take yourself down. But try to keep yourself centered, so you're not leaning to the left or to the right, you're in the center. And your hips, all the weight is moving down and back. That protects the knee. And you're going to lean to your left, swing your right leg around. Flip the foot past the left knee. Try to get that right booty down on the floor. And then grab hold of the right shin with the left hand. And turn yourself to the right. release. Unwind the legs. Extend them out in front of you. And then hard tuck the pelvis. Suck the belly into the low back. And start to slowly take yourself back. So top of the glutes, top of the pelvis, low back, mid back, shoulder blades, shoulders, head. And then let everything fall out. Take a couple deep cleansing breaths. If you want to stay here, please do so as long as your body needs. And if you need to move on with your day, you can start to wiggle the legs, feel the hips, feel the ribs, shoulders, arms. Bending one knee at a time, bringing the feet to the floor. Scooching yourself over onto your right side. Resting here for a moment. Pressing yourself up. Coming back to seated. Bring your awareness back into your pelvis. Again, finding an alignment where your bowl of water is level. Bring your palms together, your heart center. Thank you guys for joining me today. Namaste.